The IPO rush has brought a whole bunch of new companies into the limelight, and you can bet that going public has changed the lives of many of the promoter founders as well as the management teams that run these companies. I'm really curious about how they're coping. So on Life After Listing today, I'm getting you the story from Mumbai of Metro Brands. Metro Brands has a rich heritage going back to the mid-1950s, and it has deep roots in Mumbai city. You could say this pan-Indian brand started its journey here in Mumbai. Now, two members of the promoter-founder family work actively shoulder to shoulder with the management team that runs Metro Brands, and I'm thrilled to say that I'm going to meet them today, and they are both women. What does it feel like to be in the driver's seat today of a heritage brand? Because for me, as a Bombayite Mumbaikar, Metro is it's got strong roots in Mumbai.
No pressure. It's not been a company for us. Growing up, I mean, even as kids, we've been so closely involved in hearing stories about the brand that it's been like a family member for us. And I think that's how we've treated it. It's like the credibility of the company is a reflection on our credibility and what are our values. We are in the process actually of transitioning the company into hoping to leave larger footprints for future generations. So whether we're talking about building the team, whether we're talking about professionalizing, what the family's role is going to be, and you know, how do we continue the passion that the promoters used to have in the brand, because that's really what made the brand to start with.
December 2021, when you took the company public, is a big pivot, is a big inflection point.
Right.
What were the changes that you've had to deal with as a result?
I'm going to take you back a bit in history.
Sure.
So I think we got Junjunwala on in 2007, and I think the whole idea even that time was, while we didn't need the funding, it was to, you know, set a level of the company where we can be fully transparent, where we are always, you know, where we are always liable to our shareholders about the decisions we take, about how we want to run this company. And I think that entire ecosystem that we created, about always keeping the shareholder in mind with the decisions we take, was already in place. And as you can see, even when you walk around the office, you'll see it's a very transparent office. It's like even I sit in a fishbowl, you know. 2021 December, definitely, I think for the family, the company was our best and worst time. I think, like I shared with you, you know, because the company has been such a close family member, it's very hard for us to distance ourselves and to look at what everybody was talking about.
Has to say about it.
And not take, you know, not take it personally. Correct.
But you just said that your identity, the reputation, credibility was linked to the business you
and
have
everyone
built.
was telling us, look, you're now a public company, you have to have a thicker skin. And I was like, that'll eventually happen, but today it's so closely linked to who we are and what we stand for, that it was very important that we present the company in its true light.
So what were the tough part?
Yeah,
what was
so
the tough
difficult part,
and
I think for us has been, because we've been such a transparent company, information flow has been, it didn't matter whether you're a salesman in the store, you had access to information, whether you're sitting as an MD of the company, you had access to information. And I think putting the right sort of gates in place to ensure that, you know, we don't let out too much information. So that was one thing. we've always shared our plans for the company, where we want to be in the future, what we want to do, how we want to do it. And I think that was again something, we had to sort of hold ourselves back and say, okay, it has to go through the right channels. The third, so that was, I think, from a behavioral point of view. We've always been long-term players. So every single decision we took was, okay, what is this something that I want to do on a 10-year basis, 15-year basis? Do I see strength in that idea from a long-term perspective?
I mean, your company started in 1955.
Absolutely.
So you've got,
a lot of heritage.
You're here to stay.
Absolutely. And that's the most important thing, is to ensure that the mindset of the management didn't change to a short-term, oh, I have to report this on a quarterly basis. It's okay if we go slow on a new concept, because we want to ensure that we're nurturing it in the right way, and not looking at it as a, is it going to hit my quarterly number or no? A little bit of that mindset has come in, there's no doubt about it. But from a future perspective, we wanted to make sure the decision making stood from a long-term point of view.
Can you switch out that public scrutiny and the question? I think your expression says it all, but I have to persist. When you listed, the price was seen to be too high. In fact, when you did list, the price was below the offer price. Of course, it's higher than the offer price as we record this in at the end of May, June. But did that bother you?
Of course, absolutely. And like I'm telling you, it was because it was a reflection of us, and somebody told us, they warned us, like, look, this may happen in the stock market. So, make sure that as far as you're concerned, you've taken the right steps for the business, and be confident in that. And I think that's really what kept us going. Did we do right by the company or didn't we? And then is the price fair or not? And it's okay, let the market then will keep going up and down, so long as we're doing the right things for the company from a long-term perspective.
But is it so easy?
To be very honest with you, when the first day, right, that we listed, we had kept a big family lunch, and like we do on an Eid day, And it's so funny because the children were all on Moneycontrol checking the price. Now it's this, mom, now it's gone up, now it's gone down, and or Nana or us. And I think for the first week, it was like, my God, everyone in the family was tracking the price. Till we calmed, I think we really calmed down after the first quarter results. And we said, it's okay. After this, now, now I may look at it once in a day rather than every hour on the hour. And I think with time, so long as we continue doing the right thing, I think that's what's going to matter. And that's what the public has to appreciate us for. We're not here for a quick turnaround. We're not here to do things in the short term that will harm us in the long term. And I think till the public understands that, we'll continue to seeing volatility. But it doesn't bother us, honestly, as much as it did in that. I'm telling you, all the kids now know Moneycontrol. I always tell my friends, now if I had to go back and do it, there's so many things I would have done differently.
Like what?
But
pick one.
I think in terms of, how you look at public perception, how you build a persona for a brand, and what is the messaging that you want to give out. And people tell you that at that time, but you don't realize the value till, much later. And honestly, those were the small changes. I don't think we would have changed the pricing in hindsight as well. Maybe if you asked me a day after, maybe my answer would have been different.
But today, 6-7 months later, you feel that you've done the right thing.
I think we've done the right thing. The CEO and the team under him has been brilliant. And I think there's a subtle change, when you're going. So as a promoter, I always tell him, we're so used to filling the gaps that are not there, right? So you're a jack of all trades. You'll be doing HR one day, marketing
you just
the
plug
other day.
whatever gap, right?
Whatever gap you see, right? As well as planning for the future. But the minute you get a professional team in, you get sort of specialists in an area. So if you look at our HR team, you look at our IT team today, you look at our marketing team today, we've created specialists in those areas to take us to the next level, and we continue to learn from that. You have to have the humility to say, hey, wait a minute, there's someone who can think about this part of the business much better than I can.
Metro shoe shop, the guys in the mezzanine floor, and you're sitting there and they'll just keep throwing the boxes. It's such a vivid memory and that I have, and I think some of the service that your shoe shops offer, especially the metro stores, out of this world.
So
they really know how to catch hold of a customer. How did you manage that?
I think first of all, you've gotten the absolute biggest USP we have as a brand. And I think it's because a lot of the people that we attract come from very humble backgrounds, right? You have to touch a person's foot when you service them. And because of that, we don't get the best of the best in the salesmen. But what we do is we do a lot of training and we give them a great promotion path. So today also, when we're looking to open so many stores, all of them know that, okay, that if they do well and they come to us as, sales boys and stock boys, move to a semi-salesman, to a salesman, assistant manager and then manager. And that track has only become faster.
How many years would it take for a good
So in the past,
resource,
it would have been probably 2 years. Now it can be as short as 6 months to a year.
Because of the kind of demand you have.
And the kind of growth that we're doing and the different brands that we've got in the kitty. Now with the 5th brand, we've opened FitFlop recently. So with the number of stores that are coming up, the cycle has become that much faster. But ideally, a person should be in the system for about 12 to 18 months before they really get the chance to be promoted.
Right.
And because all of them are promoted within the company, we have only a 2% attrition at a manager level.
I can see accessories, and I know that is a new revenue line, isn't it?
So it now contributes about 10% of our business.
Really?
Yes.
I didn't know that,
Yeah, and it's got handbags, we have shoe care, foot care. So, when you walk in, you don't necessarily come into our store asking for a handbag,
Right.
but you will definitely be offered a handbag, a belt, even socks are one of our best sellers. So, and we do a lot of creativity.
Basically surrounded the shoe with things that might go with it.
So
At any given point of time, how many products, individual
products would be, so not counting colors and sizes, about 2,000 at least in each brand.
I know that you've got to, attend to something. I think you have a meeting. So I'm going to meet Alisha, and then I'm going to come back and catch you. Yeah?
Absolutely. Let me take you to her.
Okay, thank you. Hi Alisha, I'm going to disturb you for a bit because I know the future. You've got an eye on the future here, isn't it?
No, it's so good to have you here, Anuradha.
Thank you.
Pull up a chair.
I will. Thank you. Alisha, give me a sense of how important e-commerce, online, digital sales are for Metro brands, because I know that's what your entire attention is on, isn't it?
Yeah, so ever since I actively started working in the company about 10 years ago, that's when we started incubating this business.
I'm guessing that the 2 years of the pandemic really was a force multiplier, isn't it? Was it really accelerated people's use of digital channels and online sources to buy, right?
Absolutely. So what the pandemic really did was that people who were not digitally native became very digitally savvy. The other thing the pandemic did was also taught people how to basically understand what they really want to live in terms of the comfort of their footwear, how they want their lifestyles to be. So that really also changed consumer shopping behavior.
What were some of the changes or the trends that you observed?
We were always an omni-channel company, so orders from our website and all used to be dispatched from our stores. So that fluidity of inventory across all our channels was there for our own ecosystem. But what we did during the pandemic is we opened up store inventory to a marketplace.
Right.
And the adoption of the managers to take on that was massive during the pandemic. And if I had to implement it in a non-pandemic era, I'm sure I would have faced far more
resistance perhaps,
because they're there to serve the customers. They're computer pe बैठ के मैं जोड़ी भेजूँ, मैं courier वाला नहीं हूँ. You know, so that adoption, because they were hungry for sales. So that adoption happened very smoothly during the pandemic. Now what we're doing is we're dispatching it from the stores. What that does is, so the way these marketplaces work is you come up higher on the results page if you're closer to the customer.
Right.
So we came up higher on the results page and we got...
So that was the advantage of having so many physical stores as well.
It was an immense advantage. Because today I have a pan-India presence. I'm so much closer to each and every customer than perhaps some of my other competition is. And the fact that the customer is receiving it so soon, one is it reduces returns significantly, and the other is they get that instant gratification.
You know, this reducing returns, I want to just sort of linger on that a bit. I just need to walk in my shoes before I buy them, try on the shoes before I buy them. Is this just me being a little old-fashioned, or is this the way people look at buying shoes?
No, so people definitely like to try and buy. What the online channels have done very effectively is they've tried to reduce friction in that. Say cash on delivery, so I'm not putting any money up front. Let me order 3-4 pairs because returns are free. I get the money back instantly, or I haven't paid for it yet, right? So with all these various services being offered, they've tried to reduce that friction in shopping online. Mostly paid for by Wall Street, who's been investing in the private equity in India. So they've literally taught the Indian customer how to buy online. Sneakers, they're fairly standardized, and that's why they became the largest category online in the footwear market. And fashion is now seeing a massive jump, a lot because of COVID, but also because of the higher rate of digital adoption and the lack of access in tier 3 and tier 4 markets. So what we see on most marketplaces is 40+% of sales come from tier 3, tier 4, where they don't have that physical access to these brands that they want to buy. So that's one aspect of it. The other aspect of it is we've been working very hard to kind of standardize our kind of sizes. But because we work with local artisans, we work with local karigars, like more than 85% of our production is now happening fully in India, and we're looking to make sure that goes as high as possible. So because we're working with those kind of local artisans, it becomes a little harder to standardize in a handmade scenario.
When family-owned companies get in professional management and when they scale up, when they go public, the family members who are in management and active management have to make some adjustments.
You're absolutely
Did you have to make any adjustments? What are some of the learnings and lessons, Farah, that you had to do?
So I think honestly, like an immediate answer is like I went through feelings of, am I going to be completely out of a job and I'm going to have so much time with my kids, you know, to, oh my God, there's still so much to be done. But I think on a more serious note, I think the communication channels are very important. So when you're going through any transition, whether it's even in life or in a company, it's important to keep channels of communication open. So for instance, with the CEO who joined us in July, Nissan, who we were discussing earlier, every week he and I spend an hour where it's just time for him to ask questions, for me to ask him why this, why not this. And it allows him to understand the promoter's mindset. It also allows him to share where his difficulty points are, where he needs to understand some historic value of why we did what we did. So I think that is and we do it like a religion, you know, every week we will have that. Every 2 weeks we have a one-on-one with my dad as well, who continues to be very strategically involved with the company. The second thing is also, along with the accountability and responsibility, you have to give freedom. So what I like to say is we define the sort of where the guardrails are. Now within the guardrails, how you play, we leave it largely to the management team so that they feel empowered to be able to take decisions. The third area where we're still today quite actively involved in is the buying and merchandising. And I think the family has had that function for the longest time.
It's also relationship based.
Absolutely. So we work with over 250 vendors, some of them for the third generation.
Right.
And and we've been investing in their development along with us, so we want them to grow. Some of them have been with us, like I said, third generation, and they've grown so much with us. So that relationship is probably the last one we'll probably hand over to the professional team, where we'll continue to be involved with them. So the idea is to ensure that you're treating you're allowing empowerment, but at the same time you're also ensuring the values stay intact.
What made you get into the business? Because I believe in footwear. It's unusual to have women fronting the business, and here you are. And you and Alicia are 2 of 5 daughters.
Absolutely.
So
absolutely.
how did that happen? Because it's unusual, and I think it's yay for, you know, in my introduction, I've said that I'm thrilled that the 2 members who are, you know, at the helm of, from the founder family promoter side are both women.
Yeah,
and it's, I mean, not to make such a big deal of it, but I really feel very excited when I meet women leaders.
So I think when I came into the business, a lot had to do with luck as well. And I wasn't really given a choice, right? So I was told that, you know, come down for 1 year, understand and I had a job in the States, I'd just graduated. So it was not my preferred option. And my dad, I remember telling me that, you know, come down for 1 year, try it out, and then understand the basics of the business, because, you know, eventually this is going to be part of your legacies, you know, as 5 girls. And then you can go back and do what you want. And honestly, I've never looked back. I think a large part has to do with the fact that we share a great wavelength. He's always allowed us to fail, make our mistakes, and, you know, been there to support us when we needed it.
And he's very keen that you all should run the business.
Absolutely.
That's quite
very
wonderful
keen,
to hear.
very open with his feedback, very open with the opportunities he gives us. So that's one aspect of it. The second, and I jokingly say, you know, it's a fact that we didn't have a brother in the business is why I think we had the opportunity we did. I mean, I have to be honest about it. But I remember...
I mean, if it were to be named like that, would be Malik and Daughters. And how lovely would that be, right?
Yeah. Absolutely. So, and I think, you know, I remember the first time I interacted with one of our vendors, he wouldn't even look at me, he'd look down and talk to me, because they had not interacted with women, and a lot of them come from those kind of backgrounds where they haven't had to interact with a woman in the business. And I think today you don't even realize it.
What's your message to investors? What do you need them to understand when it comes to a company like yours? And also, what is your vision for this company that you would want them to understand?
I think the message is very clear. I think in terms of the way the business is run, it's very transparently run with a very high level of ethics. And I think to have patience, because we're not going to do things just to, you know, tick off the revenue number. We're going to always be patient and make the right decisions for the long term. We want to run a sustainable company. Having said that, that doesn't mean we'll be slow. It's not like we're always going to be slow, but once a concept clicks, then we're all out to expand. So the idea is to have patience with a company such as ours. You know, we will always have the financial prudence that we've had in the past. I think that's a big driver for the way that we currently succeed also. I think one of the things is that we've had a good run post-listing. There may be times when it may not be so good, but the idea is that the decision making shouldn't change. You know, and that is something that I want them to understand, that that's not going to really you know, sort of dictate how we run the business. The other thing is, and I think in terms of the vision for the company, I genuinely strongly feel this is India's decade. If you look at it from a manufacturing point of view, you know, I think the whole Atmanirbhar scheme, when we didn't understand it during COVID as to why it became such a great growth story for us right now. The fact that a lot of us are, you know, when we had to overnight stop buying from China, even for us, I mean, 15% of our production was coming from there. Today, it's less than 5% because the factories have been built up during COVID, have invested in the whole, you know, ecosystem so beautifully. I genuinely think this is India's decade. And I think whether you're talking about any of our brands, whether you're looking at Metro, Mochi, Walkway, Crocs or FitFlop, I think there's a great growth trajectory available. You know, if you look at the nearest brand, they'd have over 500 stores. Our largest brand is only 250 stores. So I think there's such a great potential for growth. The kind of growth we're seeing in Tier 3 and Tier 4 has been phenomenal, and it continues to be. So I think India has a lot of potential. We're here to play the long run game. We definitely see gaps in the market, which we will continue to address with newer formats, some in our existing formats. And I think we are committed to the footwear space. And I genuinely think, you know, when you take care of whether it's your employees, and I think we have a fantastic team in place, both at the front end and at the back end, it sets the right tone for how people then take care of our customers and customer delight, and, you know, ensuring that the showroom is at the center of everything that we do, or the now e-commerce portals at the center of everything we do, is a very large part of how we look at the business.
Right. Farah, I wish you a lot of good luck.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for spending, a Monday, a working Monday, first day of the week, having this
Absolutely.
conversation. But it's a great story, and I'm glad you shared it with us.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you.